If you have a post-2016 refresh Tesla Model S or 2017 and live in a state that doesn't require a front license plate and want to remove your front license plate bracket, here's how to do it. The license plate frame is attached with 2 screws at the top, and the main bracket has a total of 3 screws on the front plus 2 bolts on the bottom. They're kind of like screws or bolts on the bottom where the frame wraps around underneath the bumper. The 2 bolts on the bottom have a proprietary head that have been a challenge for some people to remove. There have been a number of ideas on how to do this. Some people have used a Dremel tool with a separating disc to cut a slot in the top of the bolts so they can be removed with a flathead screwdriver. Others have resorted to cutting away the plastic bracket with an X-Acto knife and leaving the bolts and a little piece of plastic still attached underneath the bumper. Some people have tried pulling the bracket away and cutting it off with an angle grinder or with a hacksaw. And some people just used brute force to rip the bracket off with the screws still in place. The place where the screws attach, where this thing attaches with the screws, are recessed, and you can actually pull it off and it'll rip right through that recessed area and leave the bolts in place. So that is possible to do also. However, the easiest and simplest way to do it is with a pair of 90 degrees needle nose pliers. The opening around the bolt heads is wide enough to easily fit the pliers in, and also for your fingers. The bolts loosen easily after you turn them about a quarter to a half turn with the pliers. You can then just reach in with your fingertips and unscrew them the rest of the way. They come out very easily. Once the bracket is removed, you're left with the plastic mounting plate. And this is attached to the bumper with a black rubbery adhesive that's laid around the outside. It almost looks like a double-sided tape, but it's not really. It's just kind of a rubbery glue. It's very hard and it sticks very solid in normal temperature. The inner edge of that mounting plate is just around that. It's not across the entire thing. And it's about the thickness of double-sided tape as well. And so if you have super strong fingernails, you can grab the back of this plate and that little 2mm space or so that exists between that and the bumper and just rip it off with brute force. Or you can use a plastic putty knife and carefully wedge it into one of the corners is the easiest way, and slowly pry the edge away from the bumper until you can get a good grip on it with your fingers, and then try to yank it off. And it takes a lot of effort, but you can do it that way also. If you don't want to put so much force into it, maybe risk warping or ripping your bumper or something, you can do it a more gentler way by heating the mounting plate up with a hairdryer or a heat gun, which will soften up the adhesive and make it much easier to remove it from the bumper. If you use a heat gun, set it to a moderate setting, like 5 if it goes 0 to 10, about in the middle, because you don't want to melt anything, and you only need a little bit of heat to soften up the glue. So heat up the plate a little bit, use a plastic putty knife to get behind a corner of the plate and start prying it away from the bumper. Once it's pried away a little bit, you can grab it and pop it off. It'll just kind of pop off all at once it gets past a certain point. If you pull the mounting plate off the bumper without heating it, most of the adhesive will remain on the plate, and you only have a little bit of cleanup left on the bumper. And that stuff comes off pretty easy from the bumper. But if you heat the plate first, it makes it come off easier, but a lot of the adhesive will actually stay on the bumper, or more. It's about 50-50 is what I've found. But more of it will be on the bumper. But it's still easy to clean off. If you just kind of lift it up with your fingernail and pull it slowly, it'll come off cleanly. If you pull it off faster, it'll keep breaking and you have to keep doing it over and over again. But it's easy to get off. And once you peel it all off, you'll have almost all of it removed. There'll be some residue on there, probably a little bit here and there, especially if you use the heat gun, a little of it sticks. But you can clean that up very easily using something like Meguiar's Ultimate Rubbing Compound. Anything like that takes it right off, and then just buff it out with, just wax it and buff it out, and it'll look brand new, like nothing was ever there. Thanks for watching.